Hello guys, I am back today in the solitude of my own bedroom, and today what we are going to be doing, or what I'm going to be doing, is painting again. Today we'll be painting ducks following a tutorial. So yeah. My shoulder. Anyways, we'll just jump straight into it.
Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Berkshire Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at Home.
Nice.
So today I'm going to be painting ducks in a row and I'm sipping on some black tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel and that you also check out my Patreon page where you can find additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. All right, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along, you could certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, burnt umber, Mars black, ultramarine blue, chrome orange.
Okay, so there's, what did you say? Oh my god, I have Mars black right here, which I'm gonna pour into the thing. Boom. Mars black. Nice. I have Mars black. I have my white. Whoop. Ball for me. You good shit, Gangtron. My white.
I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, burnt umber, Mars black, ultramarine blue, chrome orange, and chrome yellow. And of course you can...
Burnt umber. Fall. Okay, let's do. Aha, look at right there. Ultramarine blue. It's on the opposite end. To me, it's solidified. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. No. No. Okay. Get it. The opposite end. Ultramarine blue. I do not know about, what did you say, chrome orange?
Green blue, chrome orange.
Hold on. I have regular orange. Damn it. Well, I'll just make it.
And chrome yellow.
Okay, I'll just use regular orange. Yeah. And I'll darken it with the brown. I'll darken it with the brown and chrome yellow. That's like just regular yellow. Citronel kelp. Fall. Oh, no, that's not the right kind. I'll put that type of yellow. Okay, chat. So the canvas looks very diverse today. It looks. Hold on. Oh, please only. It looks. Yeah, it's looking good. Hold on.
And of course you can switch those up if you like, but that's the colors I'll be using. For my tools today, I have a white piece of chalk that I'll be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes. I have if I can get them in order here, I have a 1/2 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 6 round synthetic brush, and I have a number 2 round synthetic brush. And I will be referring to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process. And of course, you can switch those up as well. If you're painting along with me, you'll probably want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link where you can purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same type of canvas to paint and brushes and all the good stuff in between. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. All right, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to paint a background. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors I'm using are black, brown, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a medium, natural, neutral kind of gray color. We're just going to paint the whole thing in with that. So I have magically already pre-mixed mine so you can see where I'm headed. But if you got the kit from us, you want to separate out some of your brown so we can use that later. So what I in essence did was I took my brown, I added a little bit of black, you don't need a lot of black, and then some white paint to it. And then I started spinning it around. So what's going to happen is I made, in essence, a gray color with the black and the white, and then the brown just neutralizes it and makes it a little bit more natural. I need a little bit more white in there so it gets a little bit lighter. And you could really have this whatever shade of gray that you want, but I like mine to have that little bit of earthiness in them, so that's why I opt to use the brown. And then once I've got my color all nice and mixed, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the whole canvas with this color. So I like to start at the top, but it really doesn't matter when you're doing a solid color like this. You could certainly start at the bottom or the sides or the center even if you want to go wild and crazy, but whatever order you choose to paint in it is totally fine. Gray is a great color for good coverage on the canvas because it's got a lot of opacity with the white that we used in it. So it almost doesn't even matter what type of brush stroke that you use either, because if it covers really well and you're just doing a solid color, you most likely won't even detect the brush strokes by the time it dries. So the direction in which you put your brush, so you could go vertical and horizontal if you want to, that won't matter much when it dries. If your paint is on the thicker side and you have the height, or if it bumps out a little bit from the canvas, then you might want to consider using the same brush stroke throughout the whole area. But if you've got a thinner based paint like I'm using, and it lays nice and flat to the canvas, then you could certainly use any type of brush stroke to get the paint on. You could also, as you're painting on a solid coat like this, you could also paint the edges or the sides of your canvas. That way it'll look nice and complete and like you've paid a lot of attention to the entire canvas, even the sides, and it'll make it look like it's got a nice finished edge to it. And then once you've got this done, if you feel you need to do a second coat, feel free to do so. I think I'm going to be able to get away with just doing this one. And you'll see I go back and forth just to make sure I have even thickness throughout the entire canvas, and then I will be washing and drying this large brush in preparation for the next step.
Okay, I've been talking by myself for the past few minutes. Wow. Since we did a cow yesterday, yes, like a duck. Since we did a cow yesterday, moo. Today we're gonna do a duck. Um, yeah. Let's let that dry quickly. See how it's fully covered. Nice. Tell me, tell me I paint on other bit and it's anything. But yes, moo. Look at my cow, guys. Look at this cow. Amazing cow. Amazing cow. Oh, you're not hearing me? Yeah, my mic was off. I'm an idiot. Yeah. Chat, I need to grow my beard. I need something to grow my beard. Anyways. Okay, it's drying. Where's the pencils? I need to dry properly. I could just sketch it, I could sketch it with white paint, but I would prefer to use, a highlighter. I could just use that, because if I use the highlighter, it will show on the thing. Hold on. That dry properly? Okay, yes, the highlighter will work perfectly. Wow, chat, you're so smart. Thank you for telling me that. High five. W chat. Shout out that one viewer. I'm having a reaction. One.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to add the movement in our water. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors I'm going to use are my gray. I will also use brown, white, black, and blue. So what I'm in essence going to do is kind of lay out where I want my ducks to kind of go and the motion that they're creating in the water. We're going to be doing some final details with little ripples right around them later, but this is just going to in essence be the layer of the water that's going to be around them, near them, and around them, and how it kind of impacts the rest of the water.
Okay.
So I'm going to be kind of laying out where I want them. I'm going to have my mama duck somewhere over here, and my little baby ducks are going to be coming down in through here. So that's primarily where the motion will be, but I'm also going to have, instead of this just being a flat gray, I will have a little bit of colors in there as well. And I'll also make it a little bit lighter in certain areas. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of my gray plus a touch of black. So this is just going to kind of get us started with where we want everything to be laid out. So this is where I'm going to have kind of my biggest duck, and it's going to kind of come down in through this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of give myself this, in essence, kind of round type of motion around that duck where I'm going to have it kind of coming out. And I'm just kind of skirting my brush as if this creating little ripples around the animals. There's going to be some small ones in through here. So I'm going to just move my brush in this kind of curved type of motion. This is just giving me the movement. I just picked up a little bit more of my gray just so I could make sure that this doesn't overpower the area, something like this. And then I'm just going to kind of bring some of the big ones down in through here. As the water gets farther, or the ripples or the movement gets farther away from our ducks, it begins to dissipate or get wider in area. So as I come down here, maybe my ripples are longer and they've got more length to them, as if the water is starting to settle or not have as much movement in it. And I'm opting to do this step before I put my ducks on, so that way it looks like there's some of this movement on both sides of them. And when I put the ducks on there, I will have the evidence of movement behind them as well. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit more above where I feel that they're going to be. And again, I'm just using black and the gray right now. And in a second, I will start adding some additional colors. So this is looking pretty good to me. Maybe a little bit more in through here underneath my duck that's going to be in this direction, and something like this. So now what I'm going to do, without washing my brush, I'm actually going to pick up a tiny bit of black and my blue, because I want to have a little bit of blue in the water, because I know that I'm going to have blue in my duck as well. So I think it'll be cool if I have a little bit of blue showing up in some of my water. Up top, this is going to be more kind of left to right, so I'm just going to kind of put a little bit in through there, maybe a little bit
much.
down in through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start picking up, I didn't wash my brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white plus a touch of gray. I'm going to just allow myself to make this upper area nice and light, and I'm going to allow it to almost kind of blend in with these other pieces of or motion of the water. Now I'm going to pick up some more of my gray plus white, and I'm just going to now get everything to really just talk well together. I want this upper area to be a little bit on the lighter side. So right now I've got gray plus a little bit of white on my brush, maybe a little bit of brown too, just to keep it nice and neutral. I know that when this dries, it will get a little bit darker. So as I'm going through this, I'm okay if it looks a little bit lighter as I go through the process. I really just am looking for it to look like there's some nice sunshine, maybe illuminating some of my water, and so my water doesn't look flat. So even if these colors as I go through this process are pretty similar to that base coat, I'm just trying to get that additional information introduced into the water so it's got some motion to it, so it's not just a flat piece of water. And this again is just my gray. I've got a little bit of white on my brush as well, just to give myself these little bits of lighter areas, but again, not much, just something to add that motion to it. A little bit of white and brown is going on my brush right now to make sure that this front area has got some nice illuminated value, like they're going into the sunshine. And then I would just kind of keep fiddling with it. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point because we're going to be doing so many other details on top of this. So I'm just going to maybe fiddle with it for another minute. It's looking like it's got the motion I desire in it. And then I'm going to be using my piece of chalk for the next step. So once you've got your water in motion, you can put this large brush away, take out your piece of chalk, and get ready for the next step.
Hold on, because I'm seeing a vision right now. You'll see too, Chad. Since, well, as Barbara said, there are no mistakes. Just happy, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to it like that. But I got some blue. Get some blue into there. Yes. Now I see it. Hold on, I'll show you. Let me just do this first. Rinse the brush. Anyways, hi guys. This is PPP. Painting, philosophy, and poetry. The poetry part, I don't know. I'll just like write a haiku or something. I don't know. But yes. We Venom. No, I'm joking. I'll just smoothen. Should I smoothen this out? Smoothen this. No, not smoothing it. Always flatten out your paint. You don't want it to dry and solidify and stick out. Okay, hold on. Okay. I wish I could have came to see you for lunch today. I know you're watching. But hopefully, well, when school happens, I could just come into school and see you for lunch. That'd be way better. Unless it's the last day of work, so yeah. But yes, I will be seeing you at the school when I'm not doing schoolwork at home. When I'm bored at home. And I need some entertainment. So, da. Okay, hold on. Okay, now the brush is dry. So, you really want to hear it like, listen. That's what you like to hear. That's what. That's what you're supposed to hear. That's what I like to hear. Okay, chat. So I'm gonna go freestyle on my own bit. See how the top is really light and at the bottom it gets murky because of the brown. So to me, although there's the light source is coming from up here. Down there, as the ducks swim, they dirty the water and the water becomes a little murky. So, yes. Hold on. So, yes. Yeah, okay, that's cool. That's good.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be drawing an outline of our ducks with our chalk. So I do recommend that you make sure that your canvas is dry before you start this step because it's so much easier to draw on a dry canvas than...
Okay, I have to wait for it to dry properly. Damn. Spread out the paint. Dry canvas, dry faster. Dry faster. Hold on. Oh, wait, I already feel sweet. Oh, wow. Okay. The light behind me is blinding. Okay, chat, you all seeing the vision? Do you see the vision? The light behind me is blinding. Wow, I'm already 30 minutes into this. Okay, yes. You could get your hands on nigga nose to see
it is to draw on a wet canvas. So this is that time where you get to take an extra long break if you'd like to. Or you can find some kind of fun fanning method to get it dry, or you can do as I did and just whip out a blow dryer and get it dry that way. So I'm going to be guiding you through a series of basic shapes. We're not going to be going for any fine-tuned detail on this step. We just want to have some nice basic shapes that we'll be able to color in during the painting process. So I'm going to have my mama duck in this area, and then I'm going to have 3 little ducklings. You could certainly have as many ducklings as you want. You could make this into different sizes if you want, but I'm going to guide you through this with a series of circles for the heads, and then we'll make some shapes for the bodies, and then we'll connect them, and they'll be magically made into some ducks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find myself about the center of my canvas, and I'm going to come up from that, maybe about 1.5 inches, and go to the right about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. This is going to be the little point to the first shape that we're going to be making. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the left of that, almost about halfway to the edge of my canvas. So if this is about halfway between here and the edge of my canvas, I'm maybe about 1.5 inches to the left of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these two markers with a curved line for the top, and then the bottom is going to be almost a little bit on the flatter side, as if it's going to be the bottom part of the main body for our big duck. So that's underwater. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to give it an arcing line for the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down just maybe about another 1/2 inch to 1 inch to right about here. And I'm going to bring this almost straight across in through here and then just back it up just a little bit like that for the tail part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle for the head. So I'm going to come straight up from here, about halfway between here and the top of my canvas. So somewhere about here. And then I'm going to go over to the left about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. From there, I'm going to go to the left of that about 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to connect these two with a circle type of a shape. So this will be the base for our head. Now we're just going to connect the head to the body and put a couple of additional fun markings on it. So I'm going to connect the back side of the head to the body right in about this area in through here. So I just made myself a little bit of a mark. I'm going to bring it out just a little bit, curve it back up, and I'm going to give it...
Yeah, I need this to dry properly. Shit. Okay, hold on, chat. I will be right back. I'm gonna go get some water and then...
a little bit of an arcing line to meet back into the head, something like that. About the halfway point on the bottom part of my circle is where the rest of the neck is going to come out, and it's going to meet this edge in through here. So you can just take this and kind of go straight out like this, curve it up, and then back in, kind of follow the same curve that you have on that neck, on the back side of the neck. Then I'm just going to put myself a little bit of a duck bill on. So I want the tip of it to be a little bit lower than my circle. So I can go a little bit, maybe an 1/8 quarter to an eighth of an inch below my circle, and I'm about halfway between that and the edge of my canvas is the tip of my bill. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this tip to almost the bottom of my circle there, and then I'm going to give it a kind of a curved type of line coming out of the head to meet the tip of the bill. So I'm about halfway down the head, and I just start to curve it out just a little bit and then meet it in through there. So then what I'm going to do, that's all. Oh, I need a couple of little tail feathers in through here. So I'm going to, from this top area in through here, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a top tail feather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in a natural curve coming out from here, and then just kind of bring it up like this, and then down, back down into the body in through there. I'm going to give myself a little bit of an extra tail piece out here. So I'm going to just, from this point in through here, just continue this out to about here, and then just bring this back. Something like this will work in through here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a couple of other little just points going in through here. This is going to give us a little bit of extra detail underneath those feathers. So that's the most complicated one. We're going to go on to our little ducklings now. So I'm going to have my, the first duck that's behind here is, its head is going to be right about here. So this head is going to be smaller than this one. If this is about 1.5 inches, maybe this one's going to be about 1 inch tall by 1 inch wide. So something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then for its body, I'm going to have 2 more ducks in through here, or at least one whole one and a little piece one. So I don't want my body to be too big. I'm maybe about 2.5, 3 inches wide. I'm going to give myself, again, just the top of a curved type of line like this. Give myself a little point for that tail, and then just give myself a little bit of a flat side on that bottom. Going to connect here to the head, just like I did for my mama duck. So I'm going to go from the back side of the head and then just bring it down in a little bit of a curve, about halfway in the bottom of the circle, bring it a little bit of a curve, and then just bring it back and connect it to the bottom. And then I'm going to give myself a little bit of a duck bill coming out like this. So a little bit less detail just because it's on the smaller side. Now I'm going to do another one that's going to be turned a little bit more, so we're going to see more of the top side of the back. So I'm going to put the circle right about here, so almost right at the, parallel to the back of this one, so somewhere in through here. My body shape is going to go right about in through here. This one's going to be a little bit more. We got the rounded top, and then the flat side will go down kind of at this angle because we're looking at it from the side, or like almost from the back top kind of thing. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the neck, but again, this neck is going to look a little bit shorter because we're not seeing it totally from a profile or from the side profile. We're seeing it kind of from behind. So I'm going to go from this right side and just give it a little curve in through there, and then from here I'll just kick it out just a little bit, and then bring it back and curve it into that. And then I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a duck bill right in through there. And then my last one, I'm just going to be seeing a little portion of it. So I'm going to do just a little part of a circle in through here. And then I'm going to give myself the body part is just going to be a little bit of in through here. So this is the equivalent to these shapes in through here. And then I can only see the part of the neck. So I'm just going to kind of connect this neck in like that, and then give myself a little bit of a bill in that direction. And then once you've got this done, you can do any little fine-tune adjustments that you want. We're going to use our medium brush for the next step, so you can put your chalk away. Take out your medium brush and get ready for the next step.
Okay, hold on. Which medium brush do I use? Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the base coat for our ducks as well as the start of their reflection, or the base coat for their reflection. So I'm going to use my medium brush. I'm just going to use brown paint. So there's nothing fancy about this. I'm just going to be coloring in the entire area that we have outlined. So as I get towards the edges, you can certainly leave some of your chalk mark if you want to, if that's going to help guide you through this process, or paint right over it. It's all gonna, in the end, get painted over anyways. So whatever works for you, feel free to explore that. So I'm just kind of going right up to the edges of my chalk mark, and if I feel I need to or modify the shape of it at all, I certainly can. Chalk is really easy to erase. So if you find that you're going through this process and you don't want to go all the way out to the edge of your chalk mark because you feel that maybe it's a little bit too big or it's not the right shape, just leave it, because you'll be able to erase it with a little bit of water. So I'm just putting brown paint on my brush. I'm not doing anything fancy, just coloring it in. You could certainly use a larger or a smaller brush, whatever is conducive to your painting style. But I'm just using this kind of medium size round brush so I can get a good amount of paint on there, good coverage, and I also have the ability to kind of do these skinnier little tips of the feathers as well. And again, just bringing it out to the edge. If your paint looks a little streaky after this step, that's okay, because we're going to be doing all kinds of details on top of it later. So just kind of getting all the way out to my pencil mark. And these birds come in different shapes and stuff, so if yours ends up being a little bit different of a shape than mine, that's again quite all right. Yours might end up bigger or smaller than mine, which is totally fine. So I'm going to get them colored in first, and then I'll come back and do show you how to do the start of their reflections. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to be putting the first layer of their reflection on, because this way, while we're when we go to build all of the other colors on the reflection, we'll be building it in a similar order to how we built the bird itself, which makes that reflection look more natural and makes it look like a fantastic duplicate of what that actual bird is. So it doesn't end up too difficult of a process. It's a little bit easier to do it this way if you can build them both at the same time. And again, just going all the way around to the edges. And if yours accidentally changes into a different shape, or you've colored outside of the lines, that's okay. You can come back with some of your gray watercolor and just kind of tweak any of the little edges that you want. And now that I've got them all colored in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same brush and start the reflection. So I don't really need to do much. I'm just going to give myself this kind of soft representation of the same type of shape that the duck is itself, and bringing it into the water area itself. Down here, this is going to be my neck, so I've got a skinnier area in through here, and just kind of bringing it into the water. And then I've got the bill, the duck bill, and the reflections can be skewed. So don't feel that it has to be a mirror type of image. Like this one could even have the top of the head. It could get really bigger as it's going into the reflection of the water, because the movement of the water can skew that shape. So don't feel like you have to make it exactly a perfect replication of what you see up top. These little guys in through here, maybe I don't see too much of their reflection of their body, but maybe we've got some good amount of their head that we're seeing. So we've got a little bill going on in through here, and then the little head, and then same thing over here, maybe just a little bit in through here, because their bodies are a lot shorter. And then I'm just going to give little representation of that cute little head, maybe pull it out just a little bit more. So I'm just wiggling my brush a little bit. In order to give myself some kind of representational shape of these of the bird as it's being manipulated by the movement of the water. And then once we've got this done, we're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So if you need to do any little adjustments on this, feel free to do so, and then you can put this medium brush away.
Okay, hold on. My reflections. I need the blue. Okay. I can put the blue in it. I can obscure it even more. So, yeah. Okay. Grown ass man. Talking like a 12-year-old boy. Fun. Shame. Ah. I did it for love. Okay, that should be good.
Take out your small brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the facial features of our mother duck. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors I'm going to use are black, brown, orange, yellow, white, and blue. So I'm going to use all of my colors. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to put my eye and my bill in place. So I put black paint on my brush. I'm going to have my eye right in this vicinity up in through here. We're going to be doing some other details around it as well, but right now just kind of putting a small little circular area in through there to take to be mindful of where my eye is. And then with the remnants on my brush, I'm just going to kind of pull out.
Hold on, what's the super thing? Oh, there it is. Very small.
Out these little darker areas on the right side of it, and then down towards the bill of it. So I just with the little remnants of my brush did that. I'm also going to put a little bit of this darker color up towards the top. So again, just the little remnants of black on my brush, I'm just rubbing in towards the top of that bill, or the top of the head. Now I'm reloading my brush with black paint. I'm going to give myself the area where I want the darker section of the bill to go. So this is going to be kind of where the round part of the head meets the part that juts out a little bit. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of an uneven type of line in through here. So it looks like there's some movement to that area itself. And then I'm not going to color this in solid black. I'm just going to kind of give myself these little stripes. I'm going to leave the tip of the bill without any of this black paint on it because we're going to be putting a brighter color on there in a second. And you don't have to do anything. This doesn't have to be perfect, but just something that gives us the impression of some dark areas, maybe a little bit on this bottom side as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put white paint on the tip of my bill. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want this to be really vibrant yellow, and the yellow is transparent and it will see that brown through it. So if I don't put a base coat of white on this little bill or the little tip of it, then the yellow will not be super bright. So I'm making sure that I have a nice base coat of white to be able to see that brightness. Now what I'm going to do, I'm washing and drying my brush again, letting that sit for a minute. I'm going to go back to that eye. I'm putting a touch of orange on my brush, and I'm going to give myself the colored part of the eye, which in essence is going to be a little bit of a crescent along this right hand side of the eye. So just a little bit of my orange, leaving a bit of a pupil in there so it has the authenticity of having that spot on there. I'm also going to put a little bit of this orange on the front of the face right in through here. So just a little bit of orange is going to kind of get that the front of the face to merge its way into that bill area. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush again. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of blue and a little bit of white on my brush. So I'm kind of got a little mixture of blue and white. I'm going to do a sparkly spot on the eye with a little bit of a curved line on this top left-hand corner. So just a little curved line like that. Now I'm picking up a tiny bit of white paint, giving myself a little sparkle dot in that eye. And I think I painted too much on my pupil, so I just picked up a tiny bit of black paint to bring my pupil back in, or maybe dull down that white. Yeah, there we go. That's looking good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my my bill because my white is now dry. So I washed and dried my brush. I'm picking up some yellow paint, and I'm going to put some yellow paint on top of the white, and now you can see how bright that has become. So that white underneath it allowed it to be super bright. Now I'm just going to put some little details. So I'm going to have some light spots on my bill. I'll have a little bit of light spots on the front of the head as well. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white. Just make sure the tip of my bill has a little bit of white on it. I'm going to pick up maybe a little bit of black and white, both on my brush at the same time, just to give myself some lighter kind of grayish streaks along here. Maybe make sure that I have a little bit on the tip of that bill. So this is just black and white, just giving me these little tiny details around the mouth and in the bill, so it looks like there's some dimension to it. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put brown and white on my brush at the same time. Give myself a little bit of light area up towards the top of this head. I think actually I'm going to put a little bit more white and maybe a touch of yellow too, just to give it a little bit of sunshine up on my brush at the same time. Give myself a little bit of light area up towards the top of this head. I think actually I'm going to put a little bit more white and maybe a touch of yellow too, just to give it a little bit of sunshine up and through here. So white, yellow, and brown are the colors I'm using to just pop in this bright area in front of those eyes and leading up towards the top of that head. This is just going to give you some beautiful dimension on the front of the face. And we're going to be adding more in the whole rest of the area of the face in a little bit, but this kind of just gets you started around those eyes and leaves this marking. There's a marking around the eyes that is dark, so this is going to help to set the stage for that. And then I'll just kind of tap this in and make sure that it blends in with that neighboring brown. So I put the lightness on with the brown, yellow, and white, and then again we will be doing much more around the exterior of the head. You can sit here and fiddle with this all you want. I think I'm picking up a little bit more black, sorry, just to put a tiny bit more black in front of this orange and pump up any of these colors that you want. I just picked up more orange to get this a little bit brighter. And then we are going to be using this same small brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, I just picked up water to get rid of some of my chalk that I didn't want. Once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this small brush and get ready for the next step.
Hold on, lady. I warned you about this. It's coming along quite nicely. Oh, close my door. My back. It's coming along quite nicely. Clean my brush. Always clean the brushes. Always clean the brushes. Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do little faces on our ducklings. So I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors I'm using are black, blue, white, and probably some brown. So I'm going to do it in a similar fashion to
Whoa.
Mom, but not as much detail because they don't have as much detail and they're smaller, so they have even less detail. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of black paint. I'm going to put their eyes in place and the little markings. So I'm going to have the eye on this one somewhere in this vicinity. So a little bit of my black paint will get that started. Going to pull it out softly in that back corner and then pull it down towards the bill itself. So something like that. And then I'm going to put, again, just little kind of stripings in that in the bill itself. Going to move on to the next one with, again, just a tiny bit of black paint. This one we're seeing at a different angle, so I'm going to drop that eye a little bit down as if it's on kind of the side of the head, so somewhere like this. And again, just following my thought process of the little marking behind it, and then a marking that goes towards the bill, and then just giving myself a couple of little faint stripes or rubs on that bill. And then on this one too, this one's going to be on the side of the head. So somewhere in through here is my eye, pulling it back for the behind the eye, and then a little bit towards the bill, and then just a couple of little marks on the bill itself. I'm also going to, so I'm going to wash and dry my brush right now, and then I'm going to put a little sparkle in those eyes. So again, I'm going to use blue and white. So a little bit of blue and white on my brush at the same time, just giving myself a little, I'm not even going to go for the orange on these ones because they're so small, you're not even really going to see. So I just did a little bit of blue and white. I think I need a little bit more white on my brush so we can actually see it. There we go. And maybe now a little more blue. Sometimes you just got to keep, there we go. So I'm just doing a little blue and white kind of mark on these eyes just to give them a little twinkle, so that works for me. So now I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put a tiny bit of brown and white on my brush at the same time just to give myself a little highlight on these on the bills themselves, so more on the tip of it, and then I just kind of pull back a couple of streaks on that towards the rest of the face. I just put a tiny bit more white on my brush just to get the little tip of it even brighter, so that works. And then again, just a little white and brown to give myself the little bright edge to the tip of the bill, and then just bring it back into the rest. So white and brown, just kind of keep repeating that step on the tips of these bills, and then just bringing it back. We don't really have to do a whole heck of a lot on these little guys. I'm going to wash and dry my brush right now to get rid of some of that chalk around the edges, because I know I want to do a little highlight like I did on the mom, but the chalk is kind of annoying me right now. So it's interfering with my thought process. So I'm just going to get rid of that in through there. All right. So what I'm going to do is similar to mom, how I had the light areas around the eyes. I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown, yellow, and white. And you could certainly, mix yourself a light cream color on your palette, but I'm going to just pick them all up at the same time and just kind of tap in this little lightness in the front of the eye, like this and kind of going up, and then maybe a little bit in this area as well. Again, this just kind of sets the stage for me where this lightness in the front of the face is going to take place. We're going to, again, add a whole bunch of other information to it for the rest of the head, but this is just getting me started so I understand where I want these light areas to be on this face and around the facial features. So again, just the yellow, brown, and white, giving myself this little bit of a highlight underneath the eyes and above the eyes and in these little cheek areas, and then same thing with this little guy over in through here. So just red, yellow, brown, and white, and then in through here. And then we are going to be using our medium brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your small brush away, take out your medium brush, and get ready for the next step.
Hold on. Okay. Medium brush. Where is it? There it is. Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to put our feathers in place. I'm going to be using my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use are yellow, orange, brown, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-mix myself a tan color that I'm going to be using to, in essence, mark off where I want the bigger feathers on the back of Mom's body, and then all the little tiny feathers that are going to be on the neck, and same thing with our little baby ducks. They don't get much detail because they're fluffy baby ducks, so we're just going to make some nice markings on them, but Mom's got some detail on hers. So I have already pre-mixed my tan color. This is where I'm headed. How I got there was I used a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, a little bit of brown, and a touch of white. And then I just mixed it together. I'm going for just a nice tan color. Clearly that's got too much orange in it, so I would add a little bit more yellow and brown to that mixture. That's looking better. And then maybe a little bit of white to lighten it up a little bit. And then once you've got a nice tan color, it doesn't have to be a perfect mix to mine. Once you've got that, then we're going to just start marking off. So I'm going to start with her first because she's got the bigger ones. I'm going to start on my tail feather and work my way in the left direction. So I've got this tail feather in through here. I'm not going to use a lot of pressure, and I'm going to use just a nice kind of sketcherly type of brush stroke. That was a little bit far down the body, something like that. And
hold on, I'm mixing this and I'm trying to get it right. Yellow, yellow, orange, orange. Wow, I made it. Okay.
And then what I'm going to do, I've got some, I use just a nice kind of sketcherly type of brush stroke. That was a little bit far down the body, something like that. And then what I'm going to do, I've got this one that comes here. I think I need to wipe my brush off. I have too much paint on it. I'm going to take this from the edge and just kind of pull it in this curved type of manner. I don't need it to go too far in. I just want it to come down a little bit in through here. Then what I'm going to do is I've got another kind of bigger curved type of feather in through here. And now what I'm going to do, now that I've got these main ones in through here, I'm just going to start mapping out where I want the edges of the other ones to go. And it's just a bunch of curved type of lines like this that get smaller as they come towards the neck of the bird. So these are going to be my big ones towards the neck and towards the bottom. And once I've got kind of that far, now I can just start making these little smaller ones, and they can really overlap each other. They can cross over one another. I'm just going to be making these curved lines that are kind of curving towards the back of the bird in through here. And then once I get about in this vicinity in through here, I'm going to start making them smaller, more like a jabbed type of short brush stroke like this. So this will give you that curved type of look, but you still got some dark spots in through there. I'm going to leave right in through here kind of dark because that's going to be a shadowy type of area. And then as I work my way up the neck, I'm just going to be dotting down. So what this is going to do is this is going to give us that really soft appearance to it. And then I'm just going to kind of I didn't reload my brush yet. I'm just continuing I'm dotting in a downward motion, but I'm going up the neck. So something like this. And it can be brighter on this left-hand side. So I am pushing my brush a little bit firmer on the left-hand side. And as it works its way over to the right, I'm not pushing very hard at all. I'm bringing it right up into that cheek, somewhere in through here, and even overlapping some of that other area. I'll even pull this color up above this eye, just little tiny dots on this head. This duck has a darker area on the back of its head, so I'm staying away from making that too light in through there. So that's looking pretty good. Oh, maybe a little touch on this other little tail feather over here. So that's looking pretty good for mapping that hers out. Now I'm going to do on my little guys. I don't really need to do much at all on these guys. I'm just going to kind of give myself some nice little fluff along the edges of them, maybe a little bit up on this top side. They don't have as much markings and stuff as Mom does, so this just I'm just kind of representing this color on them so they can they can definitely mimic what's happening on Mom, but you don't need as much detail. Maybe a little bit in through here, just a little bit in through here, and then definitely in that cheek area. So again, just kind of dabbing my brush and then that top of the eye in through here, making sure we've got a little bit of that lightness in through there. And then I'm going to do these other little guys. So again, not much, just kind of making sure that I've got this lighter color to represent that they've got a little bit of their baby duckling fluff on them. And then again, this one, we're kind of seeing the top of it. So I'm putting my brush in motion like they're curved from either side. And then maybe just a little bit of this brightness on the front of the neck in through here. And then of course, same thing with that little cheek area and the front of this eye in through here. And then this little guy over here to the right hardly gets anything. He's just going to get a little bit on his chest in through here. And again, just bringing that motion of the feathers and maybe just a little tiny bit on his forehead and on his cheek. And then we're going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry.
Okay, hold on. I think I used the wrong type of brown. I did it for love. Hold on, chat. Ironic. I did it for Bakuba Doctor 2020 job. That in the reflections. And I set fire to the rain. Where'd you go? Amazon. I didn't even do the mouth of the ducking yet. Mix that. Nice. Good. And then put some darkness on the wings to make them look like dirty diesel, dirty diesel doing deeds. Okay.
Dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting all of our shadows on our ducks. So this will be the dark areas in between our...
Sure, I'll have it second. Oh, I was on face only the entire time. I was on face only the entire time. Wow. Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
feathers and down at the bottoms of the ducks as they go into the water. I'm going to be using my medium brush. I'm going to be using mostly just black and brown paint, but if I choose or need to use something else, I'll let you know. So I'm going to start on my mom duck first. I'm going to be using black paint. I'm going to be doing some strategic areas to give the body and the feathers a lot of dimension. So what I'm first going to do is I'm just going to take a black paint on my brush and I'm going to give myself some darkness down at the bottom of her body. You don't need to paint the whole thing in a solid color. What I'm doing is I'm kind of going up in between some of these feathers and allowing it to merge into that water just a little bit. We'll be doing more details on the reflection in a little bit, but this is just going to get us started with this darkness at the bottom of her. So just kind of scooting it up in between a couple of those. And you don't need to bring it all the way to the front of her body, but definitely in through here will work. I'm going to put a little bit of this in between some of the other feathers. You can also put a little bit of water on your brush as well. That'll help you to control the smoothness of it and where you want to see it. I'm going to do a bunch of black on this back side of her, but I don't want this solid black. So again, I'm just going to kind of almost tap my brush in here so I have some of the original little brown sections showing through just a little bit. So black, just kind of tapping it in so we can see again some of the other brown that was under there. So just black with a little bit of water on my brush. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some good black area underneath this feather here onto here, but I want to kind of maintain the shape of the back of the duck in through here. So what I'm going to do is from this point in through here, I'm going to give myself this is going to allow the viewer to see the shape of her body in through there. And then I'm just going to kind of color this whole section in with black paint. You could leave a little bit on the tips if you wanted of the lighter color. That's totally fine. I'm going to put a little bit of this darkness down in through here as well. So again, I just am looking to make the bottom of the duck pretty darn dark right now. And now I'm going to scoot a little bit of this black in between some of these feathers, going up towards the top of the body in through here. So maybe just a little bit in between these feathers, maybe overlapping this edge in through here. And this is going to, this one in through here, I'm going to put just a little bit of extra darkness in through there. And then just kind of scooting a little bit of this black underneath some of these, the bottom side of some of these feathers. That's going to give them a lot of dimension, not a ton up and through here, but a little bit. Now I'm going to put a tiny bit on her head. So again, just black with a little bit of water on my brush. If you find that the black is too much for you, you can certainly add a little bit of brown to the equation, but right now I'm just going to be using a little bit of black. I'm going to go on the, let's see if I can keep my hand out of the way here, on this back side of her head. So just a little bit of brown, and again, just tapping it in so I can see a little bit, so I can have the evidence of that brown as well. But again, if you go too much and the black overwhelms the situation, you can always bring some of the brown back. And if you feel that you want any more in these eyes or maybe the top of the head, now's the time to incorporate that up in through there. Or again, if you needed or wanted any more brown, I think I'm going to put a tiny bit of brown on my brush with the black paint, just so I can put a tiny bit, maybe a little bit darkness up in these. Not much, but again, just making sure that I have enough of enough dimension up in through those. So that's looking pretty good to me, maybe a little on the back side of her neck. So now I'm going to move on to my little guys over in through here. So again, just black. I think I'm going to do black with brown on my brush for these guys in through here. A little bit of at the bottom of the bird in through here. Just reloading my brush with a little bit more black. And again, the idea here is just to give myself almost the depth in between the feathers at the bottom of the bird as it's going into that water. Something like that looks pretty good. This one also is going to have some black on the back of its neck, a little bit more than Mom did, because we're seeing a little bit more of the back of the neck. Something like this. I'm going to just bring a little bit up this side, and again, just intermingle it a little bit with the neighboring brown. And if you felt you wanted a little bit at the top of the head, feel free to put a smudge in through there. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. Maybe a little darkness underneath that chin. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to move on to the next one. Water. And again, if you feel yours is too black, just bring a little bit of the brown in with it. And then again, just kind of scooting up a little bit on the sides with this black going up the side of the bird, giving it that bit of shadow. And then on the back side of its neck, so you can have that dimensional element to it. And then just tapping this as I go up, just to give it that, so it can see a little bit of those brown areas. That's looking pretty good to me. I think this one needs a little more black by its eye too. Just on the fly, giving it a little bit more into there. I'm sure that made a huge difference. And then this one, I don't really need much, just a little bit down at the bottom, just to make sure that it separates from the water a little bit and has a little bit of a shadow. I can't even really see much of the head, so I don't really need to do anything to that. And then we're going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got your shadows in, you can wash and dry your medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish our dogs. We're going to be putting the highlights on them with lighter colors than that we've got here, and we're also going to be putting any colorful decorative elements in their feathers. So I'm going to use my medium brush. The colors I'm going to use is that tan that we mixed, white, orange, blue, and if I use anything else, I'll let you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding some nice highlights onto the cheeks, any more on the front of the face if I need to, down the front of the birds. So cheeks, fronts of birds are going to be highlights. The top of the back of the bird is going to have some highlights. Maybe the little edge of this feather is going to have some highlights. And then we'll put some a little bit of striping into the feathers so they look a little bit more natural, and we'll add some colors to them. So I'm going to start with a bit of my tan plus white on my brush. I'm going to create this very bright area in the front of my bird in through here. So I'm just going to tap in this vibrant color, but as I'm doing it, I'm going to blend it out, or using it in a similar brush stroke that we did the original layer. I'm blending it kind of out and making it dissipate or get darker as I go towards the right. So my left is going to be the brightest, and I can keep building that white paint. I can always just pick up a little bit more white in order to get this front area the brightest. But if you can get it to have kind of a gradient going towards the back of the bird, that's going to give you some nice roundness and form to the front of the bird. I'm going to put a little bit, or bring it just a little bit going up this neck in through here. So again, I'm just kind of tapping with the tip of my brush, and that'll give me that feathery type of appearance. I'm going to reload my brush with those same two colors, my tan plus my white, and I'm going to give a little bit of extra punch or highlight on this face, again with just a little bit of this tapping, maybe a little bit right in next to the beak in through here. And if you felt that it needed more a different tonal value, you could always pick up more orange or more brown or whatever you feel will help to give it a little bit more dimension. I just picked up a touch more white paint just to make sure I have a nice bright highlight on the front of that face in through there, and I just kind of keep tapping it until I feel that I've got as much brightness as I want in through here. That's looking pretty good. Maybe just a touch lighter on that cheek area, and that brightness is going to allow it to pop out a little bit more. So that's looking pretty good to me on Mama Duck's front. So I'm going to go ahead and put some highlights up the back of her. So again, I'm just working with my tan plus white, probably a little bit more tan than I had on that front area. And I'm just going to give her this beautiful highlight on top of her back in through here. So utilizing the same kind of curved motion I did for those feathers, which is going to imply that this, maybe is the edge of the feathers or something along that line. I'm going to also put this highlight on the tip of this this feather in through here, so just kind of pulling it from the edge, but I'm not pulling it in as far as that original color. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of give these little bits of highlights on some of the tips of these feathers. You don't have to do them all the way. Just a little added highlight is going to make them look a little bit more realistic. I'll do the same thing on this little tail, this little piece over here. So the white plus my tan, and just a quick swipe in not as big of an area as the first time will give me that luminescent type of value to it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe off my brush, and I'm going to pick up some of my original tan, just a very little bit of it, and I'm going to actually with a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to provide this little essence of the streaks of the feathers within kind of each section that we've done. This is just giving me a little bit more texture, especially on these bigger sections. So not doing much, just especially on that back when I wanted to get a little bit on there. Now I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put a big blue area in one of these feathers in through here, because this is an iconic kind of look to these birds. The mother birds, they have this beautiful blue spot on kind of the middle of their plumage, I guess. So blue and white are on my brush right now. I'm going to go in this section in through here, and I think I want this to be a little bit further down in through here, so I'm going to just kind of pull it into this section. And you can always modify this a little bit if you want your section to be bigger and your original footprint for your feather wasn't exactly where you wanted it. Like I want mine a little bit bigger, so I'm just bringing it out a little bit bigger in through here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm picking up, I don't know if I said I was going to pick up black, but I'm picking up a little bit of black right now just to get this to have a little bit of darkness in it. And of course I can certainly tweak it in a minute here, but just getting this beautiful blue color on here. I'm going to put a couple of light streaks right now. So I washed and dried my brush, picking up blue and white and just giving myself a couple of beautiful, just light spots within that feather. And of course you can modify it if you'd like. I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and now I'm going to add a little bit of orange to these feathers. So a little bit of orange on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of lightly just kind of brush the orange over some of these feathers. A lot of the feathers actually in the back area. My orange is nice and transparent, so it takes on the colors that are underneath it. So I'm just really kind of doing a nice impressionistic type of adaptation here and just adding it wherever I feel is suitable. Now I'm going to do a similar process to all my little guys, but not as detailed as this. So just picking up, I washed and dried my brush. I'm going to pick up my tan plus white and give myself this beautiful highlight right in the front of their chests. So white plus tan, and just kind of tapping it down there. Give it to them on their cheeks too, just like I did Mama. So something like that. That's going to give a nice fullness, give a little bit on the front of their forehead, and just repeat it for the next one. So brown plus tan, doing the same. Oh, maybe a little bit on the back too. We need to give a little fluff on the back. So again, I just have my brown plus my tan, a little bit in through here, maybe give a little bit of a highlight up at the top, maybe a little bit on the tail. There we go. And now do the same thing on here. I need to just spin my brush a little bit so I can have the point of it nice and pointy. A little bit of the lightness on the cheek, just kind of tap it in. A little bit on the forehead, a little bit on the chest. And you can see that I have a pretty systematic process. If I'm adding the lightness on one of the ducks in a certain area, I do it on an opposing duck in a similar area. Gonna add a little bit of this lightness on the back in through here, not a lot, just a little duck fluff in through there, and maybe a touch more white just so it looks a little fluffier. There we go. And if I felt I needed to do anything else, I certainly would. Going to add the highlight on my little guy over here to the right. Just put a little tiny bit on the front of his face, a little tiny bit on the front of the chest, maybe a little bit more white so we can see it a bit more. There we go. And then once I've got that, I'm going to start sprinkling in some of my orange. I don't need the blue. The little ducklings don't have blue yet, so I'm just going to incorporate some of the orange. So I've got a little bit of orange on my brush. I'm going to give them little spots on their back, maybe in through there, maybe up and through there, maybe a little bit around the face, just to give a little bit of that orange hue. So a little bit there, maybe a little bit back in the duck back here, and then a tiny bit on the other one. And then you can fiddle with it. Don't need to do anything too perfect. We're going to use our, let's use the same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, do any little fiddling or adjusting that you feel is necessary. Then you can wash and dry this medium brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting the duck reflections. We're going to finish the reflections. So I'm going to use my medium brush. I'm going to use all the colors that I used in my ducks. So I'm going to have blue and black and tan and orange and white and yellow. So we're going to use all of our colors in these reflections. It's a very loose reflection. There's a lot of movement in the water, so you don't have to worry about a mirror image. What you're looking to do is just really give a good representation of the color pattern. So as I go through this, I'll probably work from dark to light. I'll do my black stuff and then work my way to the light. And I'll be using a very loose, sketcherly type of brush stroke. I'll be leaving some of the water showing, some of the brown showing, and just allowing these colors to intermingle with one another. So I am going to start with a little bit of black paint on my brush. I know that I've got some darkness down at the bottom of the bird, so it would make sense to put a little bit of darkness down right as it's meeting there. I've got my tail right in through here that's got some black in it, so I'm going to put some black coming up in this direction. And again, you don't have to do it like a mirror image. It's ripply water. It can certainly have some distinct movement to it. I've got some darkness up and through here and up and through here. So again, just kind of looking to capture the color pattern. I've got black up here in the bill, and that's my bill right there. So I'll put a little bit of black in through there. I've got an eye, so I'll put my eye somewhere in through here. I've got a little bit of darkness down the back of the neck, so I'll put a little bit of the black down in through here. So I'm just looking for where do I have those dark areas up top, and just transferring them down into the reflection. So I'm going to do the same thing over on these guys. So I'm just starting with my black paint. I got a little bit of black right where the body is meeting the water, a little bit up that tail, some down this back side of the neck, just a little bit in through here, just wiggling my brush left to right. And if you have a rogue little spot like that, don't worry about it. A little bit in the beak. I've got my little eye in through here, and then that looks good for that one. Going to go to my next one with just a little bit of black, maybe a touch of water on my brush. This one is just a little tiny area in through there. I've got my black up the back side of the neck. I've got black on my beak. I've got a little black eye somewhere in through here. And then same thing with this little guy, little black here, little black would be up the back of the neck, which we can't see. So let's put a little bit in through there. I know that I've got my little black beak and my little black eye. So that carries my blacks. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put this blue area in through here. So I'm just picking up some of my blue. I see that it is a little bit below this area. So wherever you put that one, you can put the blue just a little bit, in a corresponding spot. Actually, I think I need a little black too, because this has some black in this section as well. Black, some blue. And remember, the reflection can get skewed. So if your blue kind of, goes a little bit further, that's okay. That can happen when the water is moving. I just picked up a little bit of white so I could get some of those light blue streaks in through there. And then I have an eye with blue and white, so maybe a little bit of blue and white in through there, nothing major. These guys had their little sparkle in their eye too. If you want to incorporate that, great. And then I'm going to pick up some of my orange, because I know that I got a little bit of orange in through here. So maybe a little bit on this back side, somewhere in through here, just sprinkled throughout these guys in through here like that. A little bit of orange on the top of my beak. So again, if you want to incorporate these colors, I got a little bit of orange in through here, maybe a little bit on that face. So again, just carrying that color in the color pattern of the reflection works. Now I'm going to start incorporating that tan. So I just wiped my brush off on my paper towel. I'm picking up some of my tan color, and I see tan everywhere. So I'm just going to kind of start incorporating it in a lot of areas in through here, definitely down this front chest area. And it's a reflection. So I can have these stray kind of pieces of the water just making their way, intermingling with the other areas. I got a lot of this lightness at the top, and we're going to be doing another layer that's going to reflect or have the ripples on top of the water. So if you're going through this process and you're like, whoa, that was just a little bit too much for me, don't worry, because whatever happens, we'll be able to disguise it. I've got some right above here. That's just figuring out where that mark was. That's good for me. And through there, maybe a little bit in through here as well. And then I'll go ahead and put the tan over on these little guys. Definitely in the chest area, in the cheek area, maybe a little bit on this back area. Same thing here, a little bit in the chest, a little bit on the back, a little bit on my cheeks, and maybe a little on the forehead too. Don't forget the forehead. So same thing over here. And again, I'm just really loosely applying these colors, just letting them intermingle in the water itself. Now I'm going to pick up some white paint and give myself these bright, beautiful, I didn't wash my brush, so you'll probably see evidence of my evidence of the tan as well. So I know that I've got some in through here. I've got some definitely, we're gonna need to do a little yellow on the edge of that nose too, or the edge of the beak, a little bit on the cheek in through here, a little bit on the front of the forehead, maybe a touch at the top of the feathers in through here, a little bit on this one. And again, if it goes too much, don't worry about it. A little bit in through here, a little bit here, a little bit there, tiny bit. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of my in my guys over here. So a little bit on the beak, a little tiny bit on the chest, a little tiny bit up there, a little tiny bit on the chest, beak, chest. And again, just my dirty brush plus a little bit of white. And now I just need a little bit of yellow on this beak over here. So yellow on my dirty brush, so just a little bit in through there. And then I would just sit and fiddle. If I saw maybe I wanted a little more orange in through here, I could put a little bit more orange on my brush, and then I would just fiddle. We're going to be using our large brush for the next step, so you can make any adjustments to this that you feel are necessary, and then you can put your medium brush away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step.
Okay, lady.
All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the final top layer of the water with the ripples. I'm going to use my large bristle brush. I'm primarily going to use white unless I run into trouble, and then I might pick up some of my gray color, or if I want to incorporate other colors, I'll let you know, but it'll mostly be white. So I do definitely want to recommend that whatever you just did for your reflections, that you make sure those are dry before you start this step. I'm never going to have a lot of paint on my brush. I'm going to be using very little bit of paint on the tip of my brush, and I'll also be using a little bit of water on my brush as well. You could certainly use a little bit of liquid medium in substitution for water if you like that combination better, but I want my white to be transparent or translucent, so you'll be able to see all this work that we did underneath. I'm not going to be covering the whole thing. I'm really just going to be kind of moving in some brighter, lighter areas to make this water really look like it's got a lot of movement, and maybe some of the areas of the water are shining from the sky above, and they're a little bit whiter and lighter. So I wanted to keep the same motion as we already put in the water earlier. So I'll be doing a little bit around in this area, kind of curving it out like this. And then as I'm going through this, I'm going to have my ripples kind of going around my ducks and kind of cascading or moving with them through the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a teeny tiny bit of white paint on the tip of my brush, and I wipe it off on the side of my palette. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush in my dirty water and then wipe it off or tap it on my paper towel. So what this does is it's given me a little bit of white paint on the tip of my brush and a lot of moisture within the bristles, and that's going to allow me to get a translucent or transparent type of appearance. If you want to test it out before you go hog wild on top of all of the colored areas that you did, you can test it out in a safe zone. I like to push my brush like this and kind of do it in this direction. So this is going to give me kind of a firmer, brighter edge that allows me to kind of blend the like a soft edge away from it. So I'm going to just kind of bring these ripples in this direction. I am going to start bringing it along in front of them. Maybe a little bit is in front or on top of some of your reflection. So don't be afraid. Once you've got the rhythm to it, don't be afraid to go on top of your reflections. The more you've got little bright areas, the more it's going to look like water is moving. So I can go ahead and do these little tiny ones right next to my bird. Sorry if my hand gets in the way. I'm trying to move it out of the way, but you could certainly use a smaller brush too. If you're going about this and you're saying, "Ooh, that brush is just too big for me to work with in this type of way," then you could certainly move to a different brush. You could even put a couple over on the other side of the birds, but the only downfall with that is I'm having most of my movement here, like they're pushing the water in this direction. But if you do want to do stuff on the other side, just make sure it looks like it goes, it doesn't change the wrong direction, I guess. So I'm going to put some in through here, maybe some over these guys in through here. And I just keep reloading my brush with a tiny bit of white paint on the edge. If I feel like I need more moisture, I will put more moisture. I'm going to put some in through here. I think I need a little more moisture now. Put some in through here. And you can like water. more one to, and you might find that you need to do.
I used the wrong brown and I messed up the entire process. Wow. Wow, but yeah, look at my ducks as they swim through the water. Look at my ducks. Now I have ducks and a cow. Soon I'll be doing a cat. A cat, guys. A cat. Can you believe it? A feline. A feline. Hold on. Whoa.